And a dimension has structure to it. All dimensions have structure to it, and all dimensions have, keep it light, rules to them, how they work. The third dimension is a very rigid, dense structure. Its purpose was to be very rigid and dense. It has structures that we play in vibrations like right and wrong, always and never. And so the third dimension is very conditional. There is nothing in third dimension that is unconditional. And simultaneously, let me just say it this way, you are living in third and fourth dimension at the same time, and I'll explain that. But in third dimension, it's very dense, it's very rigid, it's very conditional, it has duality in it, which is partly started out is black and white and up and down and left and right, duality, and became, for all kinds of reasons, good and bad and right and wrong and very judgmental. But that's the structures within third dimension. Also, third dimension has one-time construction in it, and that is past, present, future, and then you die. That's what most people think walking out on the street. And in real terms, when you look at third dimension, present time is virtually non-existent unless it's what's called reactionary present time. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Reactionary present time, you're in present time and you're in reaction. If you think about people that you know and pay a little attention to them, you will see that they live in the past and the future. I hope that thing that happened to me in my past never happens to me in my future. Or they told me if I would do A, B, C, I would be able to be successful in my future. And so the interesting thing about that is you cannot create in the past, nor can you create in the future. And so if you watch people, they live kind of in a loop. And the loop is not necessarily a productive or creative loop. It's based on the past and the future. So it's very simple, third dimension. If you look at fourth dimension, something very big changes, although it's a very simple shift. In fourth dimension, there is a different time application. Time is present time now and only now. You have reference to your past, present time moments, and you have awareness of a future present time moment. But the only place that you can make a decision that influences your future present time moments is in the present. But interestingly, everything that's happened to you in your past, as your rational mind and your emotions have configured it, this is an outrageous statement, but accurate. Everything that you think happened to you in your past did not happen to you the way your memory system holds it. If we were to take you and walk you around your deepest, darkest, scariest experience in your life and looked at it from neutral, that by the time we walked around it one time, it did not happen the way you think it happened. Now, that has a lot of value because many times people hold belief systems that simply say, I'm not okay. I was told I'm not attractive, I'm not smart, I don't fit in, I'm not good enough, something's wrong with me, in a past moment. But 20 years later, if you said, how would you define yourself, they would define themselves by that past belief that says, I'm not okay. When you get into present time in the fourth dimension, you have something that you don't have in the third dimension. This is a little stretch for some people. But in the fourth dimension, you have choice. In the third dimension, you have reaction. Once you have choice in present time, you can begin to reconfigure how you view your entire past, and you can create in the moment a lifetime in your future that is very different than what was possible just a moment ago in third dimension. That's alchemy. It just simply is a different focus in present time and choice. one more word in the fourth dimension, which is a fascinating word, and the word is paradox, and it's a very important word. It simply means what was true just a moment ago. He was always bad. She's never going to be any good. In this moment, what was true a moment ago in third dimension may not be true any longer. And what was false a moment ago may not be false. When you can step into present time, choice, and paradox, your ability to be flexible and understanding and caring and rearranging of your reality becomes available to you in a way that it is not available in third dimension. And then fifth dimension gets really fascinating. But that's the ones that are important, recognizing those two dimensions.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. That was great advice. And we have another question. It's what has been your own personal experience in releasing past emotional blocks that have built up over time, maybe through misunderstanding lessons or those types of things?
Yeah, great question. So these tools that come in the Mastering Alchemy work that we do, and what we teach is tools. We don't teach philosophy. What happens when you can get into the present time, you can begin to rearrange how those beliefs of old emotions are actually held and constructed. When you begin to play in the third dimension, you also have a component that you understand as the mind, and I'm just going to call that the rational mind, the analytical mind. It has value, but it is given far more responsibility than it wants, and it is not doing you a favor by figuring out, thinking through your life in every step of the way. When you operate in third dimension in the rational mind, you are constantly looking to make sure that life doesn't bite you in the butt in one fashion or another. The rational mind has multiple purposes, but it has one very major purpose. In the third dimension, the rational mind is to keep you safe and have you fit in. Now, when you start to say, I want to walk to the beat of a different drummer, have you ever noticed how the third dimensional world, mom, dad, teacher, minister, and all of your peers and society simply say, that's not okay? And then you begin to see where we are today in conflicts. If you look at the Constitution about the right to demonstrate, very clear. And all those great Republicans that are there saying, yes, I believe in the Constitution, and here is the American people demonstrating in their constitutional rights. Now, I'm not being political. I'm being just focused on something. All of a sudden, the right and the wrong and the good and bad don't match up with my right and wrong and good and bad. And so we begin to create these interesting conflicts between people. If you begin to play in this space where you start to change how you focus your awareness, there is the ability to de-energize many of these emotions, because the one thing that is constant in an emotion that you hold, a person holds, that says, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, I'm not attractive, I don't fit in, they don't like me, run out your whole list. There is one absolute truth in that. You cannot be not okay. It is impossible for you to be not okay. Now, you can, every thought that you hold that says you're not okay in one format or another is your choice to believe somebody else's opinion. Internalize it as a belief, turn it into a habit, and unconsciously forget it because it's painful. But what happens is you wrap it around yourself. You begin to wear it as a coat. And then you forget that that coat was never your coat. You cannot be not okay. Impossible. But you can play at being not okay. And that's what we've learned to do in the third dimension.
And so what ways would you say that people should, or what techniques should people use to stay balanced in such an unbalanced world?
Well, great question. There's some very fundamental tools. Grounding is very, very valuable. And basically, There's an energetic system in the body that is not definable. It's not physical, the chakra system, the energy system. But grounding is simply right at the very tip of the spine where the first chakra is, in creating a line, an imaginary line that goes right down to the center of the earth, and then just giving it the command to turn on. It's a very fundamental tool in all of the energy work that people do. Grounding has two components to it. There's a straight line. Actually, let me back up and make a statement. Thoughts are electrical. Emotions are magnetic. When you have a thought, I'm not okay, there's a charge to it. But when you start to wrap an emotion around it, gee, I'm really not okay, this doesn't feel very good, you begin to create this electromagnetic field. Thoughts are electrical, emotions are magnetic. That straight line from the first chakra to the center of the earth, which is not very far away, is an electrical line. It begins to siphon off all of those thoughts that simply are other people's thoughts to a great extent. They never were yours. The emotions that we have, walk into a room and somebody says, that's not a nice colored jacket you have on, or where did you get that dress? And you just went out and bought it, and it's the most wonderful dress you think you ever bought. But when somebody else kind of turns up their nose and goes, oh, where did you get that? That dress goes into the closet, never to be worn again. And so those, because it doesn't feel good what they said about me, there is a coil that you wrap around that electrical line in the grounding, and it siphons off all those emotions. It gives you a great place to recognize that you're fine and you're okay, and that person maybe is jealous, maybe can't have you, maybe they are, etc. But what they think of you is none of your business. Your business is all about that beautiful dress you just bought that you loved. And wear it, enjoy it, really embrace it. But what happens is that emotion that they just threw in your space that, oh, where did you get that? Instead of it sticking, it's now siphons off in the grounding cord. And so your ability to be much more flexible, there's that fourth dimensional word, and be who you are. And see, that's one of the great values of the young people, your original question. You all don't get quite as emotionally wound up in fitting in as the adults have. Although you have different issues that go on that are similar in a different way. But as you ground off energy, that begins to make a big difference. This tool of being able to identify from the rose or the edge of the aura to my heart is me and everything else is theater gives you a great pause to determine what's being said as a truth or not for you, whether you want to make it a truth or not. And so all of a sudden you start to get flexibility. Everything that we teach is about taking the energy into this higher fourth and fifth dimension to where you're able to be much more fluid. Things don't stick to you quite the same way they stuck to you in the third dimension. And let me just give you a piece of information here, too. I just got done doing an 8-part free tools class. It's on MasteringAlchemy.com. It's in the archives. It's free. They're about 8 hours worth of try this tool. Let me explain it. All right, now let's do it. And so if you'd like to go get some very important tools for this shift, they're free. Please go and visit that site.